So I spent a fair amount of time cruising around on this piece of structure, dragging some spinners, and I started to notice that the fish were concentrated on one spot on this particular piece of structure. So I started dropping a bunch of waypoints every time I had a fish. I saw a pile of them. I just started throwing a slip bobber out there, and it took no time at all before that baby went down. And I come up with this one, but another 20-inch walleye. It just goes to show you staying mobile and finding those fish and then setting up on them is a phenomenal way to go. So, like I said, I spent a fair amount of time cruising around, dragging spinners, you know, really working this piece of structure. I'll show you a picture on the my GPS just to show you how many tracks I laid down before I actually started throwing the slip bobber out. But there we go. Doesn't get any better than catching a nice walleye on a slip bobber. I think I'm gonna let this baby go and see if I can't get down there and get another one. Woo! So I just caught that fish, and while I was dealing with them, I slid off this piece of structure. So I'm just gonna start back up here and just work my way back up onto it, look for fish, and when I find one, I'm gonna throw a little bait in front of him and see if he wants it. So okay, I just went over the top of a couple fish. I'm just gonna throw back right on top of them and hope it works. There we go. Just got that bait out there. Already went down. Just how it's supposed to work. All right. Doesn't feel like a monster by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, searching these fish out, spending a little time looking around is really paying off, because now I found active fish and I'm catching them in one of my favorite ways, with a slip bobber. Again, not a giant. Man, it's a super healthy fish, super fun to catch. Let that baby go. You know, I'm not doing anything special. This is the old-fashioned slip bobber. I do have about, you can see here, my bead won't get past it, but I do have about a 4-foot fluorocarbon lead. I am running Fireline. I know a lot of guys don't like to run power, you know, or braided line with slip bobbers, but gosh, I think they slip just as good as long as you get high quality bobber with the steel grommet on the top. But man, I tell you what, it's working today, so I think I'm gonna stick with it. So I just went over the top of a couple fish with, well, I was cruising around, so I just tossed out back to them. I'm gonna give this about 3-4 minutes. If I don't get a bite, I'm gonna continue to move around and try to, you know, find a few more fish in this area. You know, I spent a lot of time working my way up and down the break of this flat from anywhere from 33 to 24 feet to try to figure out where these fish were at. What I started noticing is a lot of the fish, and I don't know if it's weather or just a particular day, are hanging out just on the top of the break. So I set my slip bobber for about 20 feet, and I'm fishing these fish anywhere from 24 to 26 feet. You know, and the active ones are up off the bottom coming up to get that bait. So, so far, it's been working all right. So, two things have happened. I noticed a lot of the fish I was catching, or pretty much all the fish I was catching on the slip bobbers were pretty small. They were the fish that I found concentrated on top of the flat. And as I was sliding off, a lot of times I would notice some decent marks on the bottom, or little bit off the flat. And the second thing that happened is the wind has picked up considerably, making boat control a little more difficult. So kind of shifted gears, focusing on a little bit of the deeper water around the flat versus the top. Maybe try to get into a few bigger fish, and I've gone back to trolling spinners just so I can cover that ground and, you know, have a little bit easier boat control in the heavy winds. So hopefully it pays off and maybe I can get into a big fish or two here. And there we go. I don't know how big it is yet, but I think moving deep might have helped here. It's hard to tell when you're fishing at 1.2 miles an hour how big a fish really is. I mean, this one seems to be staying down, but again, moving pretty fast. Ooh, there we go. Come on. There you go. Not a giant, but one of the nicer fish I've caught today. So I would say moving out definitely has its advantages. I mean, that's about a 22-inch walleye right there. So I mean, even though I was catching a lot of fish, you know, driving around and throwing those slip bobbers at them, it sometimes pays off to switch it up, get into a little bit bigger size fish there. So I'm going to keep this up for a little bit and see if I can't find some even bigger. There we go. Come on now. See that one I'm looking for. Not bad. Like I was saying, I've probably tried 20 different spots so far, and this kind of seems to be the norm. About a 17, 18 inchers. You know, I can't complain. I've got probably close to 20 already. I went searching for that bigger fish, didn't really find them, but you know, catching fish like this, still pretty fun too. You know, I got them in several different ways. A lot on slip bobbers, a lot trolling spinners, trying to stay mobile, but they're biting. Hey, thanks for watching. All right, there we go. It took all of about, I don't know, 2 minutes. Oh, I guess everyone can't be successful. Hey. All right, well, bait back up and get back after him.